So I just got done watching Andor Season 2 Episode 5 titled I Have Friends Everywhere. And yeah, this was another rock-solid episode of the show, which leaned heavily into its more espionage elements in a way I found really enjoyable. In yesterday's review, I talked about how galactic tensions at this point in the story are clearly rising, how the fuse had been lit, and how everyone is starting to feel the heat. And part of that is obviously tied to the show's timeline. I mentioned the 1-year time jump last episode, but what I didn't realize until someone pointed it out in the comments is that this is happening every chapter, every 3 episodes, which means Season 2 isn't just building towards Rogue One and the original trilogy and the Galactic Civil War, it's counting down to it. 1 year per arc, with everything tightening as we go. And this episode really leans into that energy. The pace might be quiet, but the paranoia is louder than ever. Everyone's being watched, everyone's watching someone else, and it feels like the margin for error is getting smaller by the hour. Now, we spend a good chunk of this episode with Cassian, now deep undercover on Gorman, operating under the alias Varian Sky. It's a pretty cool name. This is classic spy movie setup, you know, new ID, fake backstory, slick outfit, checking into a hotel in the capital city like he's just there to buy some spider fabric or whatever. But even in that first conversation with the bellhop, you can feel it. This isn't just recon, it's a reminder of what the Empire has already done here. There's a monument in the plaza to the victims of the Gorman massacre, the moment when Moff Tarkin, yes, that Moff Tarkin, landed a cruiser on a crowd of peaceful protesters, killing hundreds. The event itself actually comes from old Star Wars legends. It's been floating around in the expanded universe for decades. But this is the first time it's been properly folded into the new official canon. And Andor handles it with exactly the kind of eerie, quiet horror it deserves. There's no flashback, no exposition dump, just a monument, a conversation, and the heavy implication that Gorman isn't done bleeding yet. Cassian's mission here is simple: assess. But what he finds is a rebel cell that's chaotic, loud, overconfident, and dangerously inexperienced. Now, it's quite complex in terms of what exactly is going down here, but here's my reading of it. Basically, these Gorman rebels are planning to hijack Imperial cargo shipments they believe are carrying weapons. But the whole thing feels off. The intel came too easy, the patrols are too predictable. The Gorman front thinks they've got the upper hand, but to the experienced Cassian, it all just screams setup. And to make matters worse, they're bragging about their source inside the ISB, completely unaware that they're being played. Cassian figures this out straight away and tries to warn them gently. He tells them they're rushing, that their plans are exposed, but they don't listen. They're desperate for a win, they don't have time for caution. And that's what makes it so tragic. They're not wrong to fight, but nonetheless they're walking into a trap they don't see. And said trap is of course being set by none other than Cyril Khan. Yes, Cyril is still working his way into the trust of the Gorman front, while secretly feeding everything back to Dedra, while being a Reddit moderator. I don't know how he fits it all in. But seriously though, what's brilliant about this episode is how it mirrors the two plots. Cassian's trying to prevent a massacre, Cyril's helping design it. The Empire wants the front to act, they want them to feel confident. Dedra even says it out loud. The rebellion needs to feel like they're winning, because the second they act, the Empire can strike. Hard, publicly, justifiably. This is what Cyril's role has become. He's not just passing intel, he's participating in this grand narrative, making rebellion look real so the Empire can crush it with paperwork and PR. He also goes back to Coruscant in this episode to see his mother, to report back to Partagaz, and to engage in 1 sanctioned hour of whatever the hell this is with Dedra. And honestly guys, I'm starting to think she's using him a bit. Like, I don't want to intrude, I don't want to make assumptions about people I don't know, but let's just say that I don't think Dedra is as invested in the romantic side of the relationship as Cyril is. In fact, the whole thing almost seems transactional. He works for her, you know, helping lay the groundwork for a false flag rebellion, selling out an entire resistance cell of genuinely good and desperate people, you know, standard stuff. And in return, he gets to turn out the lights and, park his TIE fighter in her docking bay. I'm sorry, okay, I'm sorry. But yeah, it will be interesting to see where this all goes next. This whole episode had a real surveillance-heavy vibe, and you feel it most in the scenes with Clea and Luthen. She's monitoring encrypted radio signals, quietly panicking about the bug they planted in Skolden's gallery. you know, Skolden, which if discovered could link directly back to them. It's one of the first times we see Luthen, usually so composed and methodical, completely lose his cool. And this hits hard because, well, think about it. He's the most competent man in the rebellion, and now even he's getting stressed. It's a brilliant way to put the audience on edge and ramp up tension. We also check in briefly with Bix, still stuck in the safe house on Coruscant, isolated, medicated, and clearly not doing all that well. Luthen stops by to visit her, and for a moment she assumes the worst, that Cassian's dead. But no, Luthen's really just checking in, though it seems like he came intending to give her a job. Once he sees how she's doing, however, he quietly backs off. There's this one line he gives her about whatever she's taking to help her sleep, how it'll work for a bit, but then the dreams will come back even worse. And man, it's just such a quiet, mature observation, really showing the guy's wisdom and hinting at his clearly troubled backstory. But anyway, now we can finally talk about what was, in my opinion, the highlight of the episode. I am of course referring to the scenes with Wilman and Saw Gerrera, which were amazing, in my opinion. Yes, all the stuff with Pluty, the guy Saw coldly executes mid-conversation after, I think, confirming that he was an Imperial spy. Brilliantly tense moment there. But I'm especially talking about that scene right at the end of the episode where Saw and Wilman, while gearing up for a guerrilla strike, inhale rhydonium. You know, the hyper-volatile explosive gas usually used to fuel spaceships. I'll be honest, this scene floored me. I'm already wondering where it ranks in my all-time favourite Star Wars moments, because it was just so equally bonkers and deeply compelling. I mean, Forrest Whitaker, the Oscar-winning actor who apparently loves playing this unhinged, wheezing warlord, knocks it completely out of the park here. That whole speech about revolution being a job for the insane, it was chaotic, theatrical, intense, a bit ridiculous, but somehow still deeply human. Just amazing television, one of those scenes that reminds you why Andor is in a league of its own. And then that bit right at the end when Wilman is fully tripping off these fumes and Saw Gerrera's just like, "Let it in, boy, that's freedom calling, let it run wild." Oh man, and the music, it was just like so dramatic. It was such a great ending. I don't think I'll ever fully get over just how weirdly good this show is. It just doesn't make sense. But anyway, that's gonna be it for this episode. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you thought, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one.